Lab 257 Part 06 by Michael C. Carroll. The Disturbing Story of the Government's Secret. Part 2. The Safest Lab in the World. 4. Genesis. Plum Island will permit the Army Chemical Corps to execute required projects in connection with imported agents that might become of biological warfare significance. Declassified RMY. A document. 1951, few years before the Plum Island Animal Disease Center's dedication day in 1956, the United States launched its first biological warfare program. A glimpse into the past reveals a surprising truth. Plum Island wasn't exactly what it appeared to be to the public. The gory details were kept secret at the time, but America's germ warfare goals, national defense, were heralded by the nation's leaders and press. A New York Times editorial in 1945 mused, "When the scientific story of the war is written, we have here an epic that rivals that of the atomic bomb." The paper was right. A few months after the United States demonstrated its atomic warfare prowess on Japan, it announced the development of a second weapon, killer microscopic germs. While 45 people participated in the British biological warfare effort, the American version involved 4,000 men and women. The Army ran the innocuously titled War Research Service (WRS) program at Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland. Civilian chemist George W. Merck directed the work, advised by scientists from the nation's top universities. These men were motivated by the threats of the times. In ways, they were no different from the atomic fathers Einstein and Oppenheimer. Theodore Roseberry, a Columbia University microbiologist who worked on the WRS projects, said, "We resolved the ethical question just as other equally good men resolved the same question at Oak Ridge and Los Alamos." The aims of the biological warfare program didn't trouble Dr. Albert Webb, a Fort Detrick scientist in the early years. "That aspect never worried me personally. People had been killing people for millennia. Whether you hit him over the head with a club, stab him with a spear, or give him a disease he might get anyway, let's not balk at that. One has to look at the whole picture and understand the enemy of the time," says Webb. "We knew other nations, Germany and Japan, and Russia, were working on this, and in self-defense, we had to know what the potential was. Maybe it's not a popular thought today, but I still feel that it was necessary." Dr. Edwin Fred, Dr. Webb's ultimate boss and the patriarch of WRS, was a veterinarian, as were Merck's top aide, Colonel Arvo Thompson, Fort Detrick founder Dr. Ira Baldwin, and Dr. William Hagen, who, in addition to spawning Plum Island along with Eric Traub, helped Baldwin establish Fort Detrick. Like MDs, they were trained in infectious disease. But unlike their medical counterparts, the vets weren't ethically bound by an oath that began, "First, do no harm." Dr. Webb recalled the mindsets of the two branches of medicine. The MDs had this unresolved medical conflict: they weren't supposed to help kill people. Vets, I think, were much more ready than MDs, he says. There's obviously not the same feelings about the death of their subjects. The mass killing of animals for food is an accepted part of our culture. Unlikely as it seems, the veterinarian was ideally suited for germ warfare research and development. Before the attack on Pearl Harbor, a proud isolationism combined with the belief that biological warfare was pure fantasy left the United States woefully unprepared for, and fully exposed to, a real threat. Britain, Canada, Germany, Russia, Japan, and France had initiated germ warfare programs decades earlier. But America made up for the lost time. By war's end it built the largest and most advanced program of them all. War Research Service launched Project No. 1 in 1942. Dr. Hagen was chosen to take the lead. Dean of the Cornell University Veterinary College, Dr. Hagen was an expert on Bacillus anthracis, or anthrax, a disease of sheep and cattle. Also known as wool sorter's disease, Because the germ occasionally infected people shearing wool off sheep, it was a rare human affliction, but an exceptionally lethal one. Merck thought it would make a superb bioweapon and commissioned it as WRS's first priority. Anthrax is virulent, but it carries a minimal threat of a boomerang because it is not contagious person to person. Dr. Hagen tested many sample strains of anthrax, which WRS code-named N, in a 4-foot-tall glass apparatus called a vinegar tower. Under the right conditions, anthrax rolls up into a ball and hibernates, or spores, and becomes resistant to threatening environmental conditions like cold temperatures. When returned to a hospitable environment, the hardy spores unfold and come back to life. Hagen found that strain number 99 sporulated and retained its high pathogenicity, or ability to spread disease. Dr. Hagen concentrated, purified, and dried strain number 99 into enough powder to make a biological bomb. In a small lab in Ithaca, New York, in 1943, Dr. Hagen created the most virulent, concentrated brand of anthrax on Earth. Anthrax became the most important biological agent developed by the American Biological Warfare Program, and Hagen gained the dubious title of the father of weapons-grade anthrax. Late in the war, Great Britain requested samples of Hagen's anthrax, naming it Hagen's best. After the war, Hagen became a driving force behind Plum Island's creation. Nazi germ warfare scientist Erich Traub would be the other. He used his clout with Congress, the Army, and the USDA to lead the charge for an island virus laboratory. He inspected Plum Island personally and lent his imprimatur to its selection. Upon its inauguration, Hagen bequeathed to the island 12 vials of N, enough to kill about 1 million people, considering it takes between 4,500 and 8,000 organisms to cause an infection. To this day, Plum Island denies ever hosting anthrax or working with it, though an now declassified catalog of deadly germs imported to Plum Island in the early 1950s clearly shows that 12 vials of N have been kept in its freezers since the very beginning. Presumably, Dr. Hagen believed strongly that his secret wartime research would contribute to a greater good. However, the consequences of Hagen's best, particularly in light of the deadly 2001 anthrax attacks, call into question that belief. At a full cabinet meeting at the White House on January 23, 1948, Agriculture Secretary Clinton Anderson briefed President Harry S. Truman on the need for an exotic animal disease laboratory, and on the Mexican virus outbreak. Truman listened to Secretary Anderson and nodded. 2 months later, the Soviet Union blockaded all roads, rivers, and rails from the American and British zones of Berlin, forcing food and supplies to be airlifted in. Then the Soviets detonated their first atomic bomb. America had a new enemy. Especially in view of present world unrest, and with biological warfare a distinct possibility, the USDA told Congress, an island research laboratory would be a major asset in repelling or mitigating such danger. In April 1948, Congress passed Public Law 48-496, which established the framework for Plum Island. The Secretary of Agriculture is authorized to establish research laboratories for research and study, in the United States or elsewhere, of foot and mouth disease and other animal diseases, provided that no live virus of foot and mouth disease may be introduced for any purpose into any part of the mainland of the United States except coastal islands separated therefrom by waters navigable for deep-water navigation and which shall not be connected with the mainland by any tunnel. USDA engineers and architects armed with magnifying glasses analyzed maps of America's coastline, searching for the right place. 2 weeks after the law passed, the USDA found the perfect coastal island, Prudence Island, off the coast of Rhode Island. The USDA had looked at many other sites, including Fort Terry, Plum Island, a surplus island fortress of 840 acres off the east end of Long Island. Meanwhile, The Army was separately fixing its sights on Fort Terry as a germ warfare island laboratory. At the lab,